Hey Scott, how's it going?
Great, Robyn. How are you today?
I'm doing awesome. So looking forward to having some great discussions today, focusing a little bit on diversity and inclusion and what roles that plays in our lives. So, Scott, if you kind of just start us off and tell us on your day-to-day professional life, how do you think about diversity and inclusion? What role does it play in your day-to-day?
Yeah, it's funny. It's been obviously called to attention on a number of levels over the past couple of years, and certainly really recently. But I always come back to the phrase lifelong learner, and I know we talk about that a lot in education, but I really think about it a lot when it comes to this because I want to learn from everybody. I want to see different people, different perspectives. Whether it's gender, whether it's socioeconomic status, learning style, doesn't really matter to me. I just think there's something to be learned from everybody. And, kind of my own person who I am, we don't necessarily have to agree on everything. If we're a coworker or a friend or whatever, but I think there's still something that can be learned from all those conversations. So that's kind of a meaty answer all rolled into one, but I really think about it a lot in terms of that and just wanting to learn from everybody in every situation.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I'd say for me, it starts with being an employee here at Microsoft now. It's embedded in our mission. So our mission at Microsoft, I always take very seriously. It's the reason why I joined this company because I truly believe in the mission. But the mission of empowering every person and every organization on the planet to achieve more. It's that every person, that part of our mission I take so near and dear and put close to my heart. We don't work and try to empower just some people out there that look, smell a certain way, right? We want our products in the company to be reflective of the people around the entire globe and the entire planet. And so I kind of take that very personally. And then also as an employee, it's a very important part of working here at Microsoft is to be purposeful and be intentional about planning for diversity and inclusion. Every project that we work on, it's something that we intently think about and plan for. And I think some people thought like, oh, it's just another thing that you have to do, but it's not another thing. It's taking that time to think about all of the ramifications of something, and are you being inclusive of multiple types of people, like you said, every race, every religion, every background, gender, ethnicity, etc. Whether you have different learning styles, maybe different impairments, but really thinking about the world we live in. We don't go into anywhere and say, oh, we're only going to service people that look this way, or only men can come in this store, right? So how are we purposeful about that in our daily lives in the company? And so really I think of it every single day, and everything I do, I am trying to purposely plan for it. And I think it's that intention that's so important.
I agree with you, and I think even more so, and obviously we're going to get into this today with Taylor, but I think it's so important to really emphasize this in schools so we get it throughout the entire K-12 experience, right? Before people get too far along in their lives and have too many biases or lack of information, lack of experience, really helping our students see themselves in everybody, see themselves in their peers and their teachers and their community, and kind of building that from a very early level. So, and obviously it's super inspiring.
And it's just the education on the bias, as you said.
Right.
It's
right.
that everybody has some sort of bias, but are you aware of your bias, and can you go around that, right? It's knowing what is there and being able to work around and be intentional about your actions.
Absolutely.
So I'm super excited tonight. We've got one of our amazing MIE experts and showcase school leaders that is joining us for a call to talk about his journey through inclusion and diversity. So if everybody on the show would please give a warm welcome in the chat window to our amazing school leader, Taylor Lowe. Taylor, welcome to the show tonight. We're so excited to have you.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for your time, man. So glad to have you here. Excuse me.
So Taylor, would you tell everybody out here in the virtual world that we're broadcasting to a little bit about yourself, your role at your school, to start off with?
Sure. Well, my name is Taylor Lowe, and I work for Park Avenue Christian Academy. We're located in Titusville, Florida. If you watch the SpaceX launches, we're right across the way from that. You watch them on TV, and we feel them. It shakes our walls. So it kind of gives you a little bit of an idea where we're located. Here, I'm very blessed to serve as the Media Academy Director. And through that, we are teaching middle school students and some elementary school students industry standard design software at a very early age to give them a leg up whenever if they decide to go into a content creation industry. I'm also the technology director, where I handle all of our one-to-one devices. I do all of our technology coaching, and I'm also a soccer coach, and I run our esports program here. So as within everyone in education, you wear lots of hats. It's hard to just wear one, but it keeps me busy, and I'm very, very blessed to be part of Park Avenue Christian Academy.
And pretty typical of the folks we see in our MIE expert community, right? We have a very hard time with that word no. I think it doesn't exist in our vocabularies, and we just say yes to everything. It's kind of how we are.
That's right.
That resume keeps growing.
Taylor, you have a really unique story, and obviously, you know, one of the many reasons, but the main reason why we wanted you on tonight is kind of to share that story with our viewers and with our greater community. If you would, just take a few minutes and kind of walk us through what you've been sharing lately about your journey as a learner, kind of what you discovered, and sort of how that's brought you to where you are today, and why and how you are the educator that you are today.
Sure. So I have the gift of dyslexia, and it really is a gift. And I'm very excited that this month it's been highlighted, especially with the sessions with Connected. And, you know, those sessions have been incredible. So thank you to Microsoft for making those happen as we highlight dyslexia. But growing up, I did not know that I had dyslexia. I did not even know what dyslexia meant until I graduated college. So I went through most of all of my academic career having no solid definition of what dyslexia is. I was in second grade when I was told that I was slow for the first time. And I love school. I still love school. I'm in education. I love learning. I love education. I mean, I remember being even in first grade, I'm like, bring on the worksheets. Like, do you have more? Like, bring them on. You know, I loved it. And so it was very hard to hear, you know, that I wasn't, you know, smart. I mean, when you tell a kid that they're slow, you're effectively telling them that, you know, you just can't keep up with your peers. So there's something wrong with you. And then in third grade was a major pivotal fork in the road for me. Everyone was excited to read chapter books, and I was pumped. You know, we were going to read, you know, everyone looked forward to it. It's the middle of the year when we start to read chapter books. So it's hyped up like, hey, you're graduating the next level of books. It's going to be great. And so the day they were passed out, you know, I cracked it open. I'm like, yes, that's great. And, you know, I didn't get to about the third page till the book was literally snatched out of my hand. And I was given a book that was rated on a first grade reading level. And so you can't even, I mean, just imagine the shame that you felt every day when it was reading time, that I had to pull out the little kid book while everybody else was advancing and reading the big kid books. And so I day after day, I remember just looking into that book, and I'm thinking, you know, I've got to make a decision. Am I going to listen to what my teacher and what all my students think about me, that I'm just dumb and stupid and just can't keep up? Or am I going to spend the rest of my career proving them wrong? And I'm so glad that I chose to prove everybody wrong, or to try to, you know, that I wasn't going to give up. But I think we can all agree that that's way too early for anybody to make that decision. No one should ever have to make that decision in life, but so much at an early age. And so my elementary years were very, very tough because I didn't know how to compensate for the areas where I struggled. And so I spent a lot of time just feeling like I just couldn't keep up. But by the time middle school came along, I found ways to hide. And I think that's where a lot of our dyslexic students are now. If they haven't been diagnosed with dyslexia, they're hiding in plain sight. They've learned how to beat a spelling test, or they've learned how to beat a book report. Not so much that they're cheating, but they've developed these, you know, compensation tools where they can get by and appear as other students, even though they're struggling with dyslexia. And I remember just thinking, even all through high school, like, man, school is just hard. Like, it's what some students were just blasting through. Like, man, I feel like I just ran some sort of mental marathon, and it's not even lunch, you know, like it's tough. And so that was that. Then college was, you know, that was rough too, because all you do in college is read, and you know that was very difficult. I had to plan my classes accordingly. Like the first day, I was like, how much am I gonna have to read here, because I don't know if I'm gonna be able to catch up. And so really it was, you know, from grade 2 all the way to graduating with my undergraduate degree was finding ways to try to, I don't want to say beat the system, but try to make it work for me. It was an uphill struggle the entire way. And I knew that I valued education. I still value education, and I wanted a master's degree. Like, I really wanted that for myself. And so I had to really sit down and think. I had to stop myself and say, hey, do you remember school? like you've been out for a while. Do you remember what it was like? And I knew I wanted to do it. So I was shopping around, and I stumbled across Full Sail University. A friend of mine told me about it. He was working there at the time, said, hey, you should check this out. It's marketed as, non-traditional education, and that's, multifaceted, and one in that they want to get you out in the industry as fast as possible, hit you with the best teachers, the best curriculum, and get you out there so you can make your mark. But on the other side, it was, it's not read this, remember this, and write it back down. That's not how now the assessment didn't take place. It was, discuss with your peers. You read this, look at it, watch this video, take all this knowledge and then combine it together and create with it. Produce with it. Don't tell me what I already know because I told you what it was. Show me what you can do with the knowledge that you've just acquired. And it worked for me. And I was like, that's a dyslexic wheelhouse right there. Like, let's create something, we can do that. We got you there. And so it was one of the highlights of my life was the day that I graduated with my master's from Full Sail. I did it in a year. I don't even remember that year because it was literally Full Sail for a year. Okay,
that's what you mean, huh?
I don't know. I slept a couple hours, I think, and so we turned in our final project on a Sunday, and we graduated on a Thursday, I believe. And I flew down to Central Florida because I was living in Tennessee at the time. As I'm walking across that stage, because I've earned to walk across that stage, and they're calling everybody's name. And then they said, and then I was up next. And then the announcer says, and the valedictorian of this class. And then for me, time just stopped. And I was like, oh man, they've messed up. I said, they are I'm like, it must be the person behind me. And so I peek around the corner and it was my name. And they had this amazing giant, Jumbotron sized screen. And it said valedictorian in my name. And I don't even remember what happened next. I guess I walked out there's video footage we showed it during the Global Learning Week, but I don't even remember it. I just floated out onto the stage. Like, what reality is this? And I don't say that just to pat myself on the back to yay, go me, but it really is a testament to when you design curriculum for all learners, that's accessible to everyone, that is inclusive, everyone's wins, and then the dyslexic minds and everyone else that has different learning styles will flourish. And so that was my journey. And so now moving forward, I'm incorporating everything that I struggled with into the curriculum that I designed for my students.
Taylor, your story never gets old. I've heard it a couple of times now, and every time it gives me goosebumps. Just to see the dedication, the grit, the passion that you had to, do what you did, and to go through your entire school life and not know that you had the gift of dyslexia, but then to discover that and figure out ways that you were able to be successful and get through this is nothing short of just amazing.
Well, thank you.
So my question though for you is, as teachers, obviously in the classroom have such a diverse student population. They say 73% of all teachers have students that span at least 4 years of reading levels in one class. And so, it's an incredibly difficult job every day as an educator to try to address all the learning style needs, make sure that the learning is accessible for all the learners, et cetera. What piece of advice do you have to teachers out there listening now on ways that they can make sure they're more inclusive of their students without necessarily adding more to their plate or more time to have to manage things? Because I know times, no one has it, right? It's the thing that we all wish we had more of. But what piece of advice could you give them to make sure they are being more inclusive of all the students in the classroom?
Very good question. I think one of the most important things, obviously, is awareness. And I think that a mindset change especially with dyslexia, that it's not a burden, it's something that should be celebrated. And then when you celebrate all the diversity that we have, it makes for a better classroom. I think also leveraging technology is huge. with the Immersive Reader, I love showing my dyslexic students the Immersive Reader. Like, their eyes just open up, and it's like they just won the academic lottery that now that they can keep up, with their curriculum. So, I know it's hard to make every student on different levels, but a lot of technology can level that playing field for them without extra work on the teacher. Showing a student the Immersive Reader, or using OneNote when you're designing your curriculum. I know in my class, I teach, one of my favorite classes that I teach every semester is a computer operations class. And we rip apart computers, and we have processors and graphics cards and memory, and in OneNote, I try to make that as, accessible to my students as possible. Well, I'll just use the OneNote web clipper and grab a great document on how processors are made. Then I'll go find a video for it, put that right beside it. Then the next day, we've got the processors we can hand around in class. And so when you give them that multimodality of curriculum, it's all in one place, and they can just pick and choose from it what they like without having to, I can't spend all that time with each individual student, which I wish we could, but we can't. And so when you kind of put it all on the table, they can pick and choose how they would like to learn.
That's a great idea. Great suggestion.
Absolutely. And you've talked so much about assessment, and I know that's obviously a hot topic, especially now, figuring out how we assess, not just in school, but, in this hybrid virtual environment that we're all in. But you were talking earlier about assessment and, telling your story, and the cartoon that came to mind. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's a professor telling his students to go climb that tree, but his students are like a giraffe, an elephant, and then a monkey, right? And just illustrating that point of like our assessments aren't always, equal and equitable for everybody. So one more quick tip for teachers, like how do you get a faculty to come to something like that, where that teacher says, I've got these great multiple choice tests, or I've got these great assessments. How do you get folks to open up to this new way of kind of giving up control and different ways of assessing students? Sure.
Change is hard. When we start moving cheese, people start getting a little, worried about their cheese, and I think one question that educators need to ask themselves is, if you're doing an assessment, ask yourself why. And if your only answer you come up with is because the way we've always done it, that might be a problem. Open to change, open to something new. And I think student testimonies are incredibly powerful. If you have a student that says, like myself, where a normal spelling test, I couldn't do it. I don't know how to rework a spelling test, but you get the idea. It's like if a certain assessment, is done in a creative way, let those students go and talk to, let that be the testimony. Wow, I excelled. My true skills were assessed through this, maybe a creative way of running an assessment, and let that speak for yourself, because you can never, discount the power of a great testimony.
I love it. Such great advice. Thank you so much for sharing all that.
Well, Taylor, as always, I think we could probably continue to talk with and chat here for an hour. We might lose some of our viewership. They might choose to go take a nap, which apparently you need more of in your life, probably, for getting a master's degree in 1 year. But before we let you go, we do want to play a little lightning round with you. So we'll have a little fun if you're up for that. Are you down for some lightning round time?
I'm highly caffeinated, so let's make it happen.
All right. So question number one, Taylor, what's your favorite color?
Blue. As you can see, everything here is blue.
What's your favorite word?
That's a good question. I would say endurance.
Nice. Favorite sound?
There's a ding in Adobe After Effects whenever your project is done rendering, and I love that sound because that means that the work is done and you can finally see it.
Excellent. And then to go off of that one, what's your least favorite sound?
Least favorite sound? A fork on a plate.
Oh, that's a good one. That's like
that is paralyzing to me. Like if you want to disable me, just do the fork on a plate. I'm like, that's over.
All right, a couple more. What job outside of your current position in education would you most like to attempt?
Professional soccer coach.
I like it. And what job would you definitely not ever want to attempt?
Professional football coach. I would not be good at that.
We'll get you out of here with this one. When your career is over, at your retirement luncheon or your big retirement party, assuming we can assemble and gather at some point, what do you want everybody to say about you, like kind of looking back over your career?
I would say he did the best he could with what he had and never gave up.
Love
Awesome.
it.
Great answers.
Well, we thank you, Taylor, for joining us here tonight and sharing your story. We can't wait to see what your future entails from here on out. And we know that your students and the teachers that you work with every day are definitely in good hands and are grateful for everything that you do for them. And we, I'll speak for us at Microsoft here, we are so glad to have you as part of in our MIE expert family, in our Showcase School family, and are grateful for you sharing in your learnings with everyone and really leading the way as a phenomenal educator here in the United States. So thank you so much for all you do.
Thank you much. That means a lot. Thank you for everything that you do. It's appreciated from every facet of our school, and I'm sure that's echoed throughout the world. So thank you very much.
All right. Well, you did kind of give us a little softball talking about the immersive reader. And since we're talking about inclusion and inclusive learning, Scott and I thought we would kind of turn it over a little bit. So for those of you that are in the viewership that don't know what immersive reader is, we're going to just give you a little peek, if you would, to see what the immersive reader is all about, and then how you can learn more about it, where you can use it, etc. So I guess I will go ahead and jump over. I'm going to share my screen with you guys, and we're going to kind of chat immersive reader for a second. So immersive reader is a tool that was created, I guess, probably about 3 years ago now. It was started off as a hackathon project here internally at Microsoft. And a group of folks internally, employees, said, hey, what can we do to help students who are struggling with reading? And so they began hacking away and ultimately developed this thing, which we now call the immersive reader. Also was known as learning tools internally for some time. And the program first started out as an add-in into OneNote, and now it has become part of a lot more places in Office. So you can access what I'm about to show you in a second. You can access it in OneNote. You can access it in Word Online. You can access it in Teams. You can access it in the Edge browser. So we're trying to make it as more pervasive throughout all of our technology. And then we've also opened up all of the APIs so that other folks can be leveraging that in their technology as well. So we've got lots of partners out there and their technologies that embed immersive reader in theirs as well. And I forgot to mention Flipgrid. It's definitely part of Flipgrid as well. So what is it? And I'm going to give you a little brief demo. So right here, I just have OneNote open on my computer, and I just have some text up here on my screen. Now there is the famous button right here. This is what I call the magic button for students who need to alter their experience with some text. So when I click Immersive Reader, what's going to happen is it's going to take that text that was on my screen and it's going to put it more in a less distracting environment. It's going to give me the text a little bit spread out. And if I want to, I can click play. And what's going to happen is it's going to start reading the actual text to me, so I can listen to what it's actually saying right there, right in there. Now, as a learner, I might need to actually change this text a little bit more. So let's say that I have a vision impairment issue and I need to make my font a little bit bigger. I can easily drag my cursor, make my font bigger, and I also can choose to increase spacing or have the spacing look like normal in a normal font here. I also can change the different fonts. So right now I've got Calibri, but I can choose either Sitka or Comic Sans. And all of these fonts were selected because of research that's done with dyslexia and fonts that are easier for folks to actually read. I also can choose to give myself a color overlay. Back in the day when I was teaching and I had students who had some accommodations, I always had some students who had the I don't know, it looked like a transparency, and they would lay it over their textbooks or their notebooks in order to be able to read better. And a lot of times you would see a blue cover overlay, or some students use yellow, again, depending on their learning styles and what they need. They can actually come in here and give themselves that color overlay. inside the tool. And you can see there are many color options to choose from that are all there for you. Now that's all really cool, but there are other things I can do as well. Let's say I am really struggling with my enunciation of words. I can choose to turn on syllables. So now my words are broken up into the syllables here that you can see. Or maybe I am working with different parts of speech. I might want to look at, hey, which of these words are nouns, right? So I can choose all my nouns are showing up in this purple color. My verbs I can turn on as red. So this really helps being able to break down sentences. And I also can actually turn on the labels as well. So whatever I have broken down, the noun geography, it also is going to label it for me here. So that is another part of Immersive Reader. Now that's not it. So many of you may be working with students where they only can focus and concentrate on one or a couple of lines of text at a time. Again, back in the old days where, you had the little slider and maybe the two rulers that the students would go up and down the page as they were trying to read, that is now built into this. So if I need to see one line at a time, I can choose one line at a time, or I can choose to show 3 lines at a time, or I can go back to my original text and turn off line focus. And one of the other things that we have integrated in Immersive Reader is Picture Dictionary. So Picture Dictionary it works with Boardmaker and allows for students to select on a word that they're not familiar with, and it will actually look up in the Picture Dictionary and give some references to that word. So not only do you see the Picture Dictionary that's coming up, I also can press the little button and it will pronunciate that word for me as well. So Picture Dictionary is there. This is really great for students who are learning English maybe for the first time, maybe English maybe their second or third or sometimes even fourth language. So this is a tool that's available for them. And since we're talking about language, let's also talk about the translator that's built in for this. So right now I'm looking at all this text. It's in English, and you can see here in my drop down all the languages that I can choose to translate this in. So I'm going to choose, how about Brazilian Portuguese? And I can choose to either translate this by word or by the document. And so if I choose the entire document, you will see now that the document here is now in Portuguese. And then I have a toggle at the top. So I can go back to the original, which was in English, and then click in Portuguese. So as you can imagine, students that are coming to our classrooms with multiple languages and are really trying to get acclimated and feel included in the classroom, they have access to this technology right at their fingertips. Now, as I said, this is built into a lot of our Office 365 platform, as well as the Edge browser. So we're really trying to make it a ubiquitous experience for students. But the thing that I like the most about this is this does not single out students, right? So back in the day, when you have students who do have, the ruler and they're dragging it up and down their page, or they have to put a color overlay on their piece of paper, and they look around their peers and their classmates, they can see that, oh, they need something special or they need something different to get the same education. With this, students are able to customize for their own experience and be able to leverage these tools. And the peers around them are not necessarily aware of that they've actually changed up the way this works. And on both sides of the spectrum, not only with students who have some learning difficulties, but I've actually also heard of students who, are what we might call our AP or IB students, who also leverage Immersive Reader as a way to self-check themselves. So a lot of times they will write a paper up, and then they will play the Immersive Reader and listen to their writing back to them as a way to check, did I make any mistakes? Did I have any errors? Because we all know when we type things up, in our head, it sounded exactly like it's written exactly like it should have sounded. But then after you send or submit something, you're like, oh, dang, I missed that. There was an error there. So a lot of students are even using that as a self-check as well. So anyway, this is what Immersive Reader is, guys. Like I said, it's built into our platform, as well as we've made the API available for other partners to be able to leverage as well. So we're starting to see this technology become more pervasive out there, and really just want to provide an equitable opportunity for our students to be able to learn that's non-stigmatizing. So yeah, this is Immersive Reader. Now you may be asking, how can I learn more about this? Obviously, this was a quick little demo. Where is it available? How do I get it? So Scott just threw up the URL. If you go to Microsoft.com/learning tools, it's the one-stop shop to learn all about what this tool is, as well as some of our other inclusive learning tools as well. There is everything from, being able to try it out on your own, get started, to taking courses and asking questions about how this works. So we definitely advise you to go over to Microsoft.com/learning tools for more information about our Immersive Reader.
And
Scott, so I know you've got.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I know you've got students too. Do you have any unique stories on how your students are leveraging Immersive Reader?
Yeah, it's interesting that you asked that, because it's been kind of a journey for us. I mean, obviously being an MIE expert for the past 7 years or so, I've had the good fortune of seeing this evolve tremendously over the years, right? And it's been kind of a journey for our school. People kind of resisted it. They were unsure about it. We have an ASP department for students with learning differences, and they had gone through, Dragon Speak and all these other tools that have been out there. So they were hesitant to try something new. But in the past about 18, 20 months, this has really caught on like wildfire. And the story I'll share with you, we have a lot of students that get a reader for exams. And so we have to scramble come exam and finals time to find readers, and teachers have to read exams, and we ask them to give up their free period and things like that. Well, now the Immersive Reader is starting to get rolled out with those students, so they can actually have the test read to themselves. And we can have multiple students in a testing environment with one reader or one proctor, instead of having to, spread everybody so thin. So simple things like that have really changed our workflow. In addition to those students using this, on a daily basis to help with reading comprehension and understanding and things of that nature. So it's definitely starting to catch on here, and I hope that we continue to expose not just our ASP population, but all of our students, in our school community to use this to their benefit.
Awesome. Yeah, it's definitely a very powerful tool and really an equalizer, I see, for many students to, get the opportunity to be successful in the classroom. So we'll leave you with that, guys. We really, we hope that Immersive Reader helps to, improve reading for students. It also strengthens their writing capabilities, and really just optimizes the time in the classroom. And like I said, this is 100% free. There's no cost to this. We want to make this available for anyone, any learner who needs to use these or would like to use these tools in the classroom. So I think the beginning comes with awareness. And so how do we continue to help teachers out there know that the tools like this exist, and that they can give their students, small things like this that will make the world of difference for them long-term with their reading abilities.
No doubt. Thanks for doing that demo, Robyn. Perfect segue from Taylor's talk today, and really increasing this awareness of all the tools that are out in the market. This is certainly an impactful one, to say the least. So we'll close things out. I know we love this segment. We talked about it in our very first episode, wanting to make sure we celebrated educators, and so we will switch gears to our final segment this week and celebrate those epic educators. We actually have a bonus one for you this week that is timely with some events going on. So I will kick it over to you, Robyn, for the epic educators.
Yes, always about education and educator celebration. So our epic educator number 1 this week goes out to Scott Tetmus. Scott is an educator in New Jersey. He has spent such an incredible amount of time really spreading the love for Flipgrid and helping teachers in his school district embrace Office 365 and use all these tools like Immersive Reader. And so Scott is going to officially be working and joining the team Flipgrid here soon. So just giving Scott a shout out for all the work he did in New Jersey, and his farewell with his partner in crime, Jim. He has an Ellie as well. So shout out to you guys as epic educators. Epic educator number 2 shout out goes to Andy Knieven. Those of you that know Andy, he goes by Mr. Coach K15 on Twitter. He has just been really crushing it with his sharing about Immersive Reader through everyone. He's been joining lots of presentations, sharing about this tool, and really, like I said, just trying to get the word out so that more teachers know, hey, these things are out there and I can be using them with my students, because it's really hard for students to know, hey, this just exists. They're looking for our guidance as teachers to shepherd them and help them provide these types of tools. So shout out to Andy for continuing to lead the way. And Epic Educator number 3, we want to give a shout out to our friend Stormy Daniels. Stormy is a Texas educator. She's outside of El Paso, and she has just been doing some really amazing things in her area, sharing all about how she is using Office 365 and helping lead the way in her area with other teachers. So we always say sharing is caring in education, and we're so thankful that Stormy is continuing to share and help other teachers out in their journeys. And then we actually are going to give a 4th shout out this week. I know we do typically 3 Epic Educators, but we wanted to give a virtual 2 hands up, high five, maybe whatever, fist bump, whatever we want to call, to our Team USA E2 crew. Sorry, it's a mouthful there. These amazing educators that you see on the screen here were selected last spring to be able to go to E2, which is our education exchange, where we bring together roughly about 400 educators from around the world all into one location. These educators were selected to attend the E2 event, which was supposed to happen in the spring in Sydney, Australia, but due to the current pandemic, that trip had to be canceled. And so these amazing educators have been waiting for an opportunity to be able to connect with each other. And although they are not able to still travel in person and connect in Sydney, we hope that we can get them there one day. We were able to celebrate these educators all across the planet today, virtually on our virtual E2, which took place on 3 times today. So we're super excited for these educators to be able to connect with each other on that platform and see the amazing innovations that are happening in education and educators' classrooms across the planet. So thank you guys for your dedication to your students. And I hope that your day was awesome, being able to connect with your peers, and that one day we get to celebrate you again in person, because I know we're all missing that in-person connection at this time.
And speaking of the in-person, Robyn, we were obviously there for the announcement and the drawing of all these winners at the Underground Summit back in January, and to see the excitement and the looks on their faces at the anticipation of this event was fun to see. It was great to be a part of it. I'm so happy. And then watching Twitter today, so impressed with what Microsoft put together to celebrate these educators. There was some really great sharing of all the different conversations and things that were going on. So I'm super thrilled for this group and all the MIE experts globally that were able to attend this event. It looked like an amazing day.
Yes, and we internally here at Microsoft hope to be able to get back to these types of events hopefully soon and be able to bring these educators across, because it's really a solidification of long-term relationship buildings and helps our educators and students and school leaders understand what empathy really looks like whenever we're able to connect at that level and see what a teacher in Egypt, who the nearest, water location may be miles away from the school, right? But to see what they're able to do still in their classrooms with so limited resources. And it makes you incredibly thankful for what we do have here as well. So I know times can be rough in education, and we've all had those days where you're just like, can I take any more? But at the end of the day, we all should be grateful that we do have the abundance of resources that we have here in the United States for our students, for our teachers, and for our families.
So with that, we'll bring this episode to a close. We'll be back with you in just a couple of weeks. And we're going to have kind of a dual show. We're working on a few things here. One, to celebrate our veterans around that time in November. And also that'll be smack in the middle of the Microsoft Global Learning Connection, formerly Skype in the Classroom, 2-day event this year. And we're working on some great information and a guest for that as well. So definitely join us back here on the 10th, same time, 5 Pacific, all the same channels, YouTube, Facebook. You'll find us anywhere, and certainly we will publicize that and share out ahead of that event. But certainly looking forward to those 2 topics. And just remember, you can find all the episodes from our premiere all the way up until tonight on our YouTube channel. There's the aka.ms link down below if you want to catch up on past episodes, or watch back any portion of tonight's show.
Which way to appoint?
That
URL. Yes, and we would love to have many of you that listen in participate in our Global Learning Connection, which takes place on November 10th and 11th. So if that's something that you're interested in and you would like for your learners to be able to connect with other learners around the globe, it's a great way to connect. So please do reach out for information if you're looking for it. But Microsoft Global Learning Connection on November 11th and 12th, we've got resource packs, etc., for how to get started, how to connect with other educators. So can't wait to see all the amazing learning connections that happen in November, and we'll be back on the 10th to celebrate some of those connections.
Absolutely, and continue to share with us. Please feel free to send us ideas on Twitter. If you have our email address, send us pictures, anything you want to share or help us promote educators you want us to get on the show. We are certainly open to your suggestions and feedback. So thanks, everybody. And Robyn, thanks again for another great show.
Thanks. Have a great night, guys.
Take care, everybody.